Welcome back, YouTubers and Madden fans. This is MADDENMONEYSHOT, sniffing out the Madden cheese as always. I got another Madden 20 update video for you. All the player ratings came out for all the teams. I'm not going to just go over it, list by list like some people might do, because you can go look at this list yourself and make your own opinion about it. But what I'm going to do, I've spent a lot of time going over this list and picking out the worst, dumbest, stupidest mistakes that EA makes, because they do it pretty much every year. Every year they put out a few laughable player ratings that are just ridiculous, and I don't know if they just don't think anybody is going to notice, or if they don't put the time into it to really flush it out. But like I said, I picked out the worst of the worst, the what were they smoking, what were they thinking type of player ratings, and we're just going to have a laugh at EA's expense while we look at some of these. So before I get too deep into this, they had the 99 overalls. They were releasing like one a day, and I can't believe there was only 4. I can't remember a year where there was so little 99 overall rated players. And when it happened, when they finally did all 4 and they released all 4 of them, my first thought was, where's Aaron Rodgers? Like, I just immediately thought, like, he should probably have a 99 like just about every year. Or maybe even Tom Brady, although Tom Brady last year, he didn't look like the Tom Brady the year before. I mean, he looked like a little bit came off of Tom Brady. No big deal. I mean, the guy's getting older, so maybe he just goes down a little bit. But I swear to you, my first thought was, why is there no quarterback, and where's Aaron Rodgers? So that brings me to my first grouping, the quarterbacks. Holy disrespect, Batman. Aaron Rodgers is barely a 90. He's a 90 overall quarterback in this game. How did Aaron Rodgers fall? I mean, I'm not a huge Aaron Rodgers fan. I want to put that out right now before I go in on this. But to have him the 6th highest rated quarterback is kind of ridiculous. This is a guy who I'm sorry, I didn't even give him proper due. He's not the 6th rated quarterback. I was missing one. Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the game. Aaron Rodgers is the 7th best quarterback in the game. I mean, that's just ridiculous. The guy he's a living legend. He's a superstar. I don't know. Like I said, I don't want to go too crazy over Aaron Rodgers because he's not a personal favorite of mine. But let's take a look at, like, when I saw that, I was like, well, wait a minute. What, did he have a bad year last year? So I went ahead and I looked up his stats. And like I said, I mean, it wasn't his best year ever, okay? But he had 25 touchdowns to 2 interceptions, which is his best touchdown percentage to interception ratio ever in his career. It's a point. I mean, his interception percentage was a .3, which is probably one of the lowest in the history of the NFL. It was his best since he's been a starter, if you look at his stats. So there is that. I mean, don't get me wrong, 25 touchdowns is not a great year. It's one of the lowest of his career. His yards, however, was 2nd highest of his career. So there's plenty of ways that you could look at this from different perspectives to say he had a good or a bad year. Bottom line is the consistency factor that Aaron Rodgers has put together throughout his Hall of Fame, his guaranteed first ballot Hall of Fame career, guarantees that making him a 90, well, he's still technically in his prime. I mean, he's not out of his prime by any means. Like I said, look at some of these stats. They're ridiculous. And there's no player in the league more consistent than Aaron Rodgers. And like I said, once again, consistency. I know that plays a part. So part of me has a problem with Patrick Mahomes, the leading, the reigning MVP, being the top rated quarterback. I know he had a great year, and it was an amazing season, okay? 50 touchdowns, all that. I get it. 5,000 yards, whatever, okay? There's a lot of guys that have great first seasons and don't get the love, or great second seasons and don't get the ratings boost that Patrick Mahomes does. Patrick Mahomes being a 97 is pretty basic and plain. They have him that high because he's the cover athlete. Every time they put someone on the cover, they have to pimp him out. So I get that too. He's not the best quarterback in the league. If he was, he probably would have won the Super Bowl instead of losing it to Tom Brady in his house. So I don't want to be too critical of Patrick Mahomes. I know the guy's an amazing player, but to have him the #1 rated quarterback after one season, I mean, come on, man. Like, none of these quarterbacks in the history of Madden got the type of ratings boost after one season, no matter how great it was, that Patrick Mahomes does. And if you look at some of the younger quarterbacks that I'm going to go through, because that's one of my bigger issues as well, is some of these young quarterbacks just don't seem to be moving up at all. Like Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson has proven at this point that he is a franchise QB. It's amazing that he's still only an 82. Carson Wentz has proven at this point that, I mean, his second season was a lot like Patrick Mahomes' second season, where he would have been MVP if he didn't get hurt. So how is his quarterback rating only topping out at an 82? You know what I'm saying? That's insane to me. Then you have guys like Jared Goff, just went to the Super Bowl. He's topping out at an 83. And on a further note, Dak Prescott being in this category, I mean, I'm not trying to, he's an 81 overall. I don't have a problem with that rating necessarily, but when I scroll down the list and I see some guys that I think that are comparable, like Alex Smith Well, I know he's hurt. Mitch Trubisky, I thought, had a really good second season, enough that I think he's in the Dak Prescott range. Some of the rookie quarterbacks from last year, they did really good, but they didn't get any ratings boost at all. Sam Darnold had, he showed a lot of talent. Josh Allen, towards the end of last season, showed some talent down the line and was winning some games. Lamar Jackson came in and won, 5 games out of the last 6, got him to the playoffs. I mean, why didn't any of these guys get the slightest bit of a ratings boost? But, Baker Mayfield goes all the way to an 83 off of one season. He didn't even play the whole year either, a lot like some of these guys. I mean, the consistency at quarterback especially, I just don't really get. That's obviously the most scrutinized position, so I feel like they have to do a better job of getting that right, but I don't want to go on and on about it. Moving along, I don't want to make this video too long. Going to the running backs, we have Todd Gurley is the #1 running back in the league. I could take that, but I don't think he's 3 points better than the next running back in the league, and I don't even think that the stats necessarily indicate that, because when I was going through individual stats like stiff move, spin move, stiff arm, juke, it looked to me like the best running back was Le'Veon Bell, and I'll just go ahead and I'll show one here, trucking. But Le'Veon Bell was like top 2 or 3 in pretty much every individual move. Like his truck is second, his juke is second, his spin is second, his stiff arm is first, his break tackle is sixth. I mean, if you look at that from that perspective, he looks like the #1 back. Darius Geis being #1 in trucking, by the way, is ridiculous. The guy hasn't even played a minute in the NFL, but he's #1 in trucking. They also have the #2 guy in trucking in Samaje Perine, who's a complete bust as far as I know. But they have 2 of the top 2 guys in trucking in the league. I mean, the Redskins backfield has so much talent in this game. I don't know if it really, does that in real life, but they're just an amazing backfield. And if Madden's making these ratings to project to the future, there's no way that Todd Gurley, with his mysterious knee injury and whatever happened to him last year, would still be considered the best back. Another guy that I think got really disrespected here is Alvin Kamara, who at a 90 overall, I mean, there's people that would argue, and I might be one of them. I'm not going to say that I would argue it, but he could be the best back in the league. I mean, he's been splitting carries the last couple years, so he hasn't really gotten the workload to prove it, but he's one of the most unstoppable forces in the game, and EA admits that with, some of the X-Factor superstar abilities that they're giving him this year. They know he's an amazing player, but for some reason, his stat, he's only a 90, a lot like Aaron Rodgers. As I was going through this stat by stat, like I said, Le'Veon Bell, once again, he's in the top, he's #2 in juke move with just about everything else, but I think Kamara probably should have had one of the best juke moves in the game. I mean, he's one of the hardest guys to tackle in the entire NFL, and where is he? You know what I'm saying? He's nowhere to be found. You got to really go down to find Kamara in pretty much all these. I mean, he's not, by no means is he a bad player, but when you look at a guy like Tariq Cohen, who hasn't done anything in the NFL. If you look at his stats, the guy had 400 yards last year rushing, 370 yards the year before that. I know his receiving stats are really good. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of what his stick is. But, I mean, compared to what Alvin Kamara has done in the league, and then you see Tariq Cohen just being, he just looks light years better than Kamara as far as some of the stats when you compare. Cohen has the top agility in the game, one of the top jukes in the game. His speed is 3 points better. They have the same catch essentially, and somehow Tariq Cohen has the highest elusiveness. Once again, you can't tell me Kamara is not more elusive, but I'm not trying to hate him, Tariq Cohen. I love Tariq Cohen. He's an amazing player. I loved him coming out of school. I wanted the Eagles to get him, but I just think that, like I said, I don't feel like they did Kamara well any more than they did Aaron Rodgers well. So moving on to receivers and tight ends, there's 2 incredibly OP receivers this year. DeAndre Hopkins, the only 99 in the receiving core. He's pretty much 99 everything. He has a 99 jump, 99 catch, 99 catch in traffic, 99 spectacular catch, and 99 release. I mean, he's just going to be a cheat code. We're going to see, though. He's not necessarily the tallest guy. Everybody knows height and speed are really what kills in this game. The #2 guy after that I think is probably going to be a human glitch is Tyreek Hill. The guy cracked that 99 speed. I mean, it's so rare there's a 99 speed guy in the game, and you just know. I mean, they have the #1 quarterback, and then they have the fastest receiver. Earth the EA, but the fastest cornerback in the game is 95. So he has a 4-point difference, and that doesn't even include acceleration. It's a 99 acceleration. So this guy, you're going to be able to just chuck it up over everybody if you're playing regular mode. I mean, the Chiefs might be they might be like the Golden State Warriors of NBA 2K for the last couple of years. Everybody's going to be using the Chiefs. Even though their defense is terrible, it's not really going to matter when you can score at will by just chucking it up over the coverage. It's going to be interesting to see how that turns out, because now that Tyreek Hill's a 99 and they have bazooka for for the quarterback for Pat Mahomes, I mean, it's going to be incredible. My only issue with tight ends is George Kittle. A lot of people think he might be the best tight end in the game, and I wouldn't necessarily argue. I mean, he's got the second best blocking. I mean, he's a speed tight end with the second best blocking in the game. So even if EA didn't do his overall well, he probably still is going to be the best tight end in the game regardless. On the defensive side, I didn't really have too much issues with the cornerbacks or the safeties, so I'm pretty much going to end it on D-line. My biggest issue on D-line was the pass rushers. Some of the most elite pass rushers in the league have pretty shady pass rush ranking or overall rankings. DeMarcus Lawrence was another guy. He was on Twitter talking about how he was an 89. I got to agree with him. DeMarcus Lawrence is one of the best defensive ends in the league. You can see him right there. He has, I mean, they give him, like, even though these guys are low rated, the guys I'm going to name, they all are like top 5 in finesse moves. So it's like, I don't know if EA's saying that all they are is pass rushers, but you can see them here. I mean, these are some of the best in the league. Chris Jones had, I think he broke the NFL record for sacks in a row last year, for like game to game to game. I think he had like 8 sacks in 8 straight games. It was some record he set. He's an amazing disruptive player. He shouldn't be an 89. He should be higher. DeMarcus Lawrence, obviously. I mean, this guy just made a $100 million contract. I hate Dallas, but he's an amazing player. I can't give him nothing but respect. The guy's a great player. Joey Bosa, this guy had an injury-shortened year last year, but he still has had nothing but double-digit sack seasons since the day he stepped in the NFL. Melvin Ingram as well. I mean, these guys, like I said, all of their finesse moves are 3rd, 4th, 5th. It's like they're getting that, but they're not getting the overall ranking. And then you got a guy like Brandon Graham, who I know Pro Football Focus loves this guy, but as an Eagles fan, let me tell you, I wish he'd get to the quarterback more often and get some sacks. He's nowhere near the sack numbers of these guys, and he's rated at the same level or higher. And then if you go down the list, you find guys that are even more infuriating, like Ryan Kerrigan. This guy here is the picture of consistency for like the last decade. He's like quietly a Hall of Famer. He gets no respect. I think he's had 13 sacks the last 2 years apiece. And it's like, why is he only an 87? This is a guy, I know he plays for the Redskins. Nobody really cares, I guess. And then I think my favorite one, the lowest rated ones, this is how you can tell. When you play for a bad organization, you get bad ratings regardless of what you do. Chandler Jones had 13 sacks last year, 17, I think he led the league the year before that. So he's got a total of 30 sacks in 2 years, and 5 straight years in a row, he's got double-digit sacks. Like I said, these guys have really good individual stats, so it shouldn't matter. They should still play really well. Sheldon Rankins is probably my favorite defensive tackle at only an 83 on this list. Sheldon Rankins had 8 sacks last year, and he pioneered the second best run defense. He was the difference as far as the run defense goes in New Orleans. Any New Orleans Saint fans knows this. And he only went up to an 83. If he went up at all, I don't even know if he went up at all from last year's rating. Bernard McKinney was a Pro Bowler last year, and I think he might have been an All-Pro. I'm not even sure. So that's it. I'm gonna end the video like that. If you guys see anything that you have an issue with, let me know in the comment section, because there's nothing to do in Madden right now other than talk about it anyway. So we could go back and forth what you think is a lowly rated player or a highly rated player or whatever. I'd love to hear it in the comment section. Other than that, thanks for watching Madden Money Shot out. Need more help or just want to show your support? Then head over to my Patreon and join my team, where you can get exclusive content like ebooks and bonus plays, as well as early access to my vids and more. Link in the description below.